she can hear us.
Good.
So our meeting is live.
Okay, it's 7:01 and I will call the February 14th, 2022 meeting of the Tiverton Library Board of Trustees to order. Our first item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which includes our minutes of the December 13th, 2021 regular meeting and the Friends of Tiverton Library minutes of their January 12th, 2022 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
So that is unanimous. Our next item, reports, treasurer's report. We have the monthly income and expense reports for both December and January because our January meeting was canceled. Hey, Catherine.
All right. So what I'll do is I'll designate when I'll be going over January and when I'll switch over to February. And I'll stop if there's any questions in the meantime. But I'll start off with my report from January, which covers December 2021. So once again, fines, fees, and printing has exceeded what we originally anticipated, even though we have gone fine-free. This is mostly because of meeting room fees, printing fees, any sort of lost book compensation that we receive. Also in December, Q1 and Q2 state grant and aid payments have arrived. So you'll see those on the December reports. And overall in December, our main expenses were heat, electricity, and staff payroll and benefits. As of December, we were 50% of the way through the fiscal year. And our budget to actual was placing us right around 42.88%. So we are in good financial shape for this year. And I will also talk a little bit about that later when we talk about line item transfers. And any questions on the December financials? All right, hearing none, I will move on to the January financials. So this is the usual report that I would give this month. So in January, we saw a normal increase in heating costs for the month. You'll see that is just the coldest month. So we're really, we're getting a propane delivery about every week now. I think I mentioned before that Feral Gas had placed a meter on our propane tank. So it actually just sends a signal to them when we need a fill. And it's been really great for us. Very, very efficient. And we do not have any propane fill fees. So even if we were to get 2 fills a week, it would not tack on any extra fees, which is good. Also for January, I like to mention that Casey's Oil and Propane is the new heating oil provider for Union Library. They are on the town heating oil contract, so you'll start seeing some expenses for Casey's Oil and Propane. They have heating oil over at Union Library. The payroll expenses continue to be lower than normal due to several staff vacancies, particularly with our up until now technology coordinator. We had our previous technology coordinator at part-time and our new technology coordinator for full-time just came in. The young adult services librarian vacancy and a few part-time library assistant vacancies. Also in January, our Q3 consortium fees were paid to Ocean State Libraries. And just a quick mention that the new technology coordinator is taking in lieu of payments instead of health insurance. So as you all know, we give a sum of money to staff members who are full-time who do not take health insurance. So that is tacked on to payroll. And at this time, we are 58% of the way through the budget year, and our actual expenses are just under 53%. So again, just a mention there for when we go into line item transfer later on in the agenda. And that's what I have for our income and expense reports. I will go over Bank Newport as well, but in the meantime, are there any questions? All right, I will move on. So for Bank Newport from December, so this was last month's report, a large shipment of ARPA technology arrived, and we're still waiting on a few computer monitors. So Ocean State Libraries actually does the purchasing for us, which is very helpful. And then we pay them. So we receive an invoice from Ocean State Libraries. We will eventually be reimbursed by OLIS after submitting a request for payment, but I cannot submit a second. I submitted a first request for payment back in December because we received some things, but I cannot submit the second and final request for payment until everything has been received. We're thinking around mid-March will be when everything has been shipped and will arrive here at the library. We have experienced similar delays that a lot of people have experienced with technology. So it is not anything out of the ordinary. All right. There were some program expenses in December for children's and adult departments, but other than that, a fairly quiet December for the Bank Newport account. I'll go right into January for Bank Newport unless there are any questions. Okay, so for January, we had a relatively slow month for Bank Newport with just one expense for adult landscape painting class. And also, I would just like to extend a very big thank you to our friends of the library who graciously granted my funding request of $6,250 for our 2022 programs. So this should be coming to Bank Newport quite soon. As you know, the Friends fund all of our programs here at the library, so we are very grateful for their support and their generosity, and we're really excited to show them all the great things that we can do with their donation. All right, so that's it for my Bank Newport reports. Any questions? Great. I can move on to the line item transfer if you'd like.
Okay, so is this, where is this on our agenda, Catherine?
So this is,
Or is it something you want us to vote on?
yes, please. Oh, you know what? I skipped way far ahead. Let's back up. Never mind.
Right, so it's under, it's budget. I see it now. So we have it on the
Yep.
agenda, so we will be able to vote on it. But we have a few items that come before that under committee reports, budget. The first item we have is discussion possible vote on the FY23 budget.
There we go.
Okay.
I can do that right now. All righty. Carol and Sandy, since you are the budget subcommittee, if you'd like to say some things before I do, that is okay with me. Or if you'd like me to take it away, I can do that.
You can lead off if you like, Carol. I just have a quick comment.
But I just wanted to share that Sandy and I spent over an hour discussing the FY23 budget with Catherine, and as usual, you know, she has meticulous justification for every number, and we feel it's she's defended her numbers and they're very reasonable, and so we both, I think I can speak for Sandy as well, we both support her draft budget here.
Yeah, the detail that backs it up is fine. There are no questions. It's very well done. Don't have a problem with it.
Thank you both. Always a pleasure to work with you and the budget subcommittee, and I am happy to answer any questions about the fiscal year 23 budget. I'm sure a lot of folks are wondering at home what our town appropriation request will be, and this is $603,000 from the town of Tiverton, which will go to the budget committee and the town council for a presentation about. And I'm happy to discuss any of the lines if there are questions.
I think it might be helpful for you to just talk in terms of the dollar increase and the percentage increase that we're asking for.
Sure, absolutely. So looking at our fiscal year 23 budget, there were very few things that we like to leave up to guessing. Of course, we're very early still in the calendar year, but we can pretty much take a very educated guess about where our numbers will be. So I think the town appropriation of 2% increase from last year. So we received 591,000 in fiscal year 21 from the town, and we are asking for a 2% increase to 603,000 in fiscal year 23. So this increase comes from, the majority of the increase actually comes from operating expenses. As we all know, things have been increasing in cost. Inflation is very difficult to account for, especially in an already very tight library budget. So we are seeing most of the increase come from our operating expenses. And that we can see in service contracts. Also, materials are a bit more expensive. The one number that I'm very happy did not change was our Ocean State Libraries consortium fees. I think it was the correct decision for the consortium to vote not to increase our fees this year. So that is very helpful to our budget. And of course, maintenance, we want to make sure that we are on top of all of the small things and big things that may come up during the year. There are often questions about capital use and maintenance, but capital use we restrict for the larger items. Maintenance is if a faucet stops working or a toilet stops working. Ask me about that. Happy to talk about it, as you all know. And just those small repairs, painting, things along those lines. So we always want to make sure that our building is at top priority for care and maintenance. As far as the salary expenses, we actually are seeing about a 2% decrease there, just with staff changes and also making some adjustments to health benefits with in lieu of staff members. So that was also a factor in this budget. We are seeing a bit of an increase in our grant and aid, and that was around $3,500, just under $3,500. So we greatly appreciate any assistance we receive from the state, and also any grants. We don't add grants into our budget at this time because they're never guaranteed. So those are just a few of the highlights of the budget. Is there anything else you'd like me to touch on, Carol?
No, because I'm very familiar. I don't know if anybody else has a question or can put yourself in the shoes of someone not familiar with the library budget, or what they might like to know about. It's hard for us because we work with the budget all the time.
I just have a quick comment, and it's what I did was when I got the budget, I went back and looked at the actual expenses in fiscal year 21, which is 2 years ago. And the thing that jumps out and is actually gratifying, we had a real big bump in maintenance expenses during that period. And as you can see, over the next 2 years, that's dropped significantly. So whatever hurdles we had, we've accomplished, and we're in pretty better shape. The building, I should say, is in better shape.
Yes, and this was also due to the new control system for the HVAC system as well, which was right at $9,000. So that will last us quite a while.
Quick question. The town has allocated certain capital funds for the schools. Is the library able to get involved with some of that? I mean, because all that money is coming from direct casino revenue.
Yes, so we have 15,000 in capital from the town. So the next agenda item, I'll talk a bit about what we can do with those funds and some of the priorities that I see.
Great.
And I'm not sure about capital funding for fiscal year 23. I believe that's going to be one of the discussions across this budget season.
Okay, so are you looking for a vote so that you can take your budget as you presented it to us and pass it on to the budget committee?
Yes, and this budget will be part of the presentation that I put together for everyone.
Do we have a date yet when the
We
budget committee
don't.
will hear us?
We don't have a date. There are 3 dates that I believe I saw, but nothing has been set in stone. So I am working on speaking with the town administrator.
Do we expect it to be in February or in March?
So I believe 1 or 2 of the dates were in February, and there were 1 or 2 more in March at the very beginning. So I will check on those.
Okay. Any other discussion? Then I would ask for a motion to approve the FY23 proposed budget.
I'll make
Move to
that.
approve.
Thank you, Chris. Did you want to choose one of those?
I was gonna say, both, I got both at the same time. Who was first and who was second?
Kathy can go. Kathy,
Kathy was first,
yep.
and were you second,
I'm
Sandra?
practicing
I'll
for
second it.
Jeopardy.
Okay. Okay,
All right, all in favor? Raise your hand, and it is unanimous, so I won't read out the names. All unanimous in favor. All right, and so our next item then is in fact a discussion, possible vote on FY22 capital fund allocation that was awarded to the library by the town council.
Yes. So what I did is when we met with the budget subcommittee, I developed a document of priorities. And so I actually had I believe I passed this on to you all back in November, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll just briefly go over some of the options that we have that I think are priorities. And to start off, that would be safety barriers. So this would be concrete stanchions placed around the propane fill well on the east side of the building, along the propane line that enters the building on the southeast corner, and also the wall where the book drop and drive-through window are on the east side. As you know, there was damage from a vehicle grazing the side of the building coming through the drive-through a couple of years ago. So pretty much just some added layers of protection for those areas. I think the propane area definitely could use some just some precautions. The second item on the list is parking lot improvements. So this would consist of seal coating the parking lot and also restriping the spaces and directional arrows. Those have faded substantially over the past 7 years now, 6-7 years, and it can lead to some confusion, as I've seen. So I want to make sure we're directing everyone in the correct way that they should be going, because we do have a lot of one-way areas in the lot. The next option was, I'm not sure if I'd like to do this right now, but it is an option, would be to place a water meter on the sprinkler fire service water line. So this would allow us to waive the $349 annual fee that we pay to North Tiverton Fire Water District. I would have to do some more research about this one. I think instead of this, my third priority would be patio furniture for the West Terrace, the Book Architecture Literary Terrace as its official name, or the South Terrace, some furniture out there as well, perhaps with some umbrellas. So those would be my top three choices. And then the fourth would be the meter. So if voted upon tonight, this would give me some guidance about where I should start. And I could start a discussion with the town administrator about the bid process for these items.
Question.
Chris.
Do you know, do you have any idea if all four of these are possible, or you're gonna have to only, you don't know that yet, or you're gonna have to choose one or two? And
I
do you have
would
a
like,
sense of it?
yeah, I would really love to be able to do the first three options I listed. I'm just not sure. In my brain bank of how much seal coating would cost, I could not tell you, unfortunately.
Okay.
That would be something I would have to do, just some looking around and getting quotes for.
Yeah, well, I guess also I was thinking, if you can't do all of it for the safety, maybe, well, it's like get all of one done, all of two done, there's just different options, or get a good chunk of each of them done, something like that. But those are all possibilities and you might even be able to get the fourth one done, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
And depending where we are towards the end of this budget year, even if we're not able to cross everything off this list, then I think it would be reasonable to say if there were funds towards the end of the year in our regular operating budget, then we would be able to devote them to capital needs.
Okay, actually, it also just occurred to me, are you holding some money back to, in case you need to get some more cleaning materials for like COVID stuff? Or are you pretty
So-
well set on that?
So we are all set. We actually have a bit of a stockpile from last year, which has really served us very well. And our cleaning supply line has not been expended fully this year yet. So if we do need to purchase extra cleaning supplies, we are able to do so.
Okay, but it sounds like we're in good shape with that too. Now we just need to be in good shape with the COVID.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So Catherine, would we be approving having you solicit quotes for these items, and then you would come back to us with those quotes? And at that point, we could perhaps have the discussion that Chris mentioned about whether we want to do partial, funding of multiple items, or whether we just want to completely do, say, 2 items.
Yes, I think that would be the ideal vote tonight. I would like your input along every step of the way with these funds, and just to make sure that we're on the right track here. So if that is what you all wish to do tonight, that works for me.
Have you?
I have
just
a
out of cur-
particular.
Sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead, Sandy.
No, you go ahead. You spoke first.
I have a real problem with your item 4, not from you, but from the North Tiverton Fire District. I've worked in hundreds of fire districts around New England, and I have never, ever seen a meter installed on a fire department, on a fire protection device, ever. In fact, most places, they don't allow them because it's against United States codes. So that one to me is something I wouldn't even think about. I would actually, in my other capacity, I would go to bat for the town to go against the North Tiverton Fire District on that particular issue. I think them charging you $350 for a inspection fee because you're going to use a certain amount of water, or you have to put a meter on it, it's just wrong. I think your items number 1 and number 2 are great. And I think on item number 3, the patio furniture, if you reached out for a legislative grant from the General Assembly members, you might be able to, wrap that one up as well. So I think all of your items, with the exception of the one being impugned on you by the North Tiverton Fire District, are great. Just my 2 cents.
So Jay, I have a question for you then. So what are you going to do? Go to the North Tiverton Fire District and say, we're not paying this?
I'm actually going to go to the state building official and ask them about this because I don't think it's allowed.
Oh, okay.
Because if you put a meter on, a meter, you can actually turn a meter off. And you can never turn off a fire protection unit.
Okay.
And from just a little bit more information for everybody watching at home. So that line is essentially when they test our sprinkler system, they expel a good deal of water. So North Tiverton Fire Water District does not know how much water we expend. So we are just having to pay that fee every year. We do not use $349 worth of water during that test. I will say that. We use our normal allotment for water is, I think, around $750 per year, if that. So this fee is more than half, about half of what we're paying per year for water.
It's an outrageous fee. And I think the water districts need to reconsider some of the fees they tack on. This is an issue totally outside the library, but something I have been looking into statewide. And I think our water districts need to come back into reality.
And I'll mention one last piece of information that this year we increased our water line budget by $25 because our testing company is now required to upload their results into an online portal, which charges them $25 to do so. So in no way, shape, or form would we ask our testing company to foot this bill. So that has to be paid for by us.
And this is coming in from North Tiverton Fire District.
Correct.
Yeah.
Any
Part-
other?
Part of a much larger problem.
So based on Jay's interest in pursuing other solutions to the water meter problem, it sounds like perhaps we could take a motion to authorize Catherine to get quotes on her items, on her other items, the concrete stanchions, the parking lot improvements, and the West Terrace patio furniture, which would also be a helpful number to have even if we want to fund it possibly through grants.
I would make that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Jay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Again, unanimous. All right, the next item is discussion possible vote on line item transfer from salaries to technology replacement and collection.
All right, so finally we're here. I got a little too excited.
And I couldn't find it on the agenda and I got a little worried.
All right, so we, as you all know, we have had several staff vacancies this year. So after working with the board treasurer, Sandy, I did work out that we do have some funds in the salaries line that I think would be beneficial to use towards 2 immediate needs right now. Well, technically 3, but I'll detail about each of those. So my first request would be for $10,000 to the collection. This would be twofold. So taking $10,000 from salaries to collection, we would put $3,000 towards a library of things. And we have been talking about this for a little while now. In your meeting packet, I provided an example, but essentially what a library of things is it's items, sort of like everyday items that you can check out. So not books, not DVDs, not audiobooks, but actual things that you can use in your home, garden, out anywhere outside. A couple examples are fishing poles, a toolkit, so many different options. Right now, we do have a telescope and also stargazing binoculars that we received through an OLIS grant a couple of years ago. So these have sort of started the idea of a library of things. And this was also something that our patrons ask for if we have certain items like this. So I think putting all of our heads together here on the staff side of things and also patron requests, I think we could come up with some really great things that we could make available to check out for our patrons. The question that always comes up is, do we have storage for these items? Absolutely. We have some newly made available closet storage in the front hallway storage closet near the trustee hall, near the trustee room. So we have some shelving in there that is readily available for these items. And I think we would be able to build a good starting collection for the Library of Things with $3,000. The other $7,000 of this $10,000 request would be for the E-Zone. So as you know, this has been so popular over the past 2 years. I only see interest increasing in E-Zone, very rarely decreasing. And according to Ocean State Libraries, if we were to contribute the amount of money that our patrons use the E-Zone, the ratio that our patrons use the E-Zone, it would be right around $9,834. So being able to put a significant amount of money into the E-Zone because our patrons are using it is really helpful to the system overall. And also just making sure our patrons get their items a little bit quicker, drive down those hold lists, and that is always a good thing. So that is the sort of twofold collection request that I have. I can pause there if there's any questions, and then I can move on to technology maintenance.
I do have
I
a
have
question.
questions.
Go ahead, Kim.
My first question is, this is just a line item transfer just for this fiscal year?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and so in changing this, we still have salary available for if we should miraculously find a young adult librarian?
Absolutely.
Okay, and my other question is, if we contribute this to E-Zone this year, is that going to be an expectation that we are doing that each subsequent year after this?
No, it is not. We typically contribute $2,000 each year, and that's from our normal collection budget. No increase and no added funds for that. So we would reset with fiscal year 23 back to the usual $2,000 from the collection budget. And of course, if we did have funds available, I would like to put it towards E-Zone.
Okay, so basically this money that we're putting in is going to allow E-Zone to purchase more titles or more copies of titles?
Correct. And typically what I have them do is look at what is on hold for our Tiverton patrons. So items that are in high demand from our Tiverton patrons, we'll purchase extra copies of and get those to them a little bit quicker.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Sandy, did you have?
Well, I did have a question. The Library of Things, do you have a prospective list of people recommended what they would like to see?
So we've had a few mentions, but what I'm going to do at our next staff meeting is have our staff put all their heads together and all the suggestions that they've received over the years. We're going to brainstorm, grab some of the most popular mentioned items and go from there. And I also think what I would like to do is start out spending maybe about $1,000 and then the rest of that $2,000 for $3,000 total, get the public interested in knowing that we are starting the Library of Things and really publicizing that we have these great items. And if they'd like to see an item in the collection, then let us know and we can build upon that with those funds.
And just to follow up on the E-Zone purchases of additional titles, are those just going to be available to Tiverton Library members or statewide?
That's a great question. So it would be available statewide. If we were to be what's called an advantage library, then it would be available to our patrons first. And then once our patrons use them and there's no holds for our patrons, the copy would go out into the general collection. But because we are not an advantage library, then it just goes to the general.
So we're adding to the total collection statewide.
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
all right,
Mhm.
that's fine. That's fine.
And
Thank
can you explain why we're not an advantage library?
So yes, it was something that a few libraries had decided to go into a couple of years ago, and it was just not something that we had decided to do. I don't believe the option is there for us at this time because usage has increased, but I will definitely check on that status. And if I am incorrect, I will correct myself at the next meeting. And I will look into that a little bit more.
It seemed like we talked about this years ago.
I bet you
and
did. Yes.
Chose not to do it for various reasons.
It can be a bit costly, just with keeping up on the holds lists and making sure that we're purchasing enough copies for our patrons. So I will definitely get some more information on that.
Catherine, in the Advantage libraries, do they not share, if we take part in the shared collection at all, they essentially maintain their own separate ebook, audiobook collection?
No, the only advantage to Advantage is that if they purchase titles, those titles go directly to their patrons first and then out into the general collection once they've been used by their patrons.
So it's that mix. They participate in the shared collection, but then they buy extras that they retain just for their patrons.
Yes, and I believe there's only 7 or 8 libraries statewide that are Advantage libraries.
The Library of Things, I know one of the options you mentioned in your backup was to loan musical instruments. So that caught my attention. I think that would have great appeal. I know Providence Public Libraries would loan pieces of artwork or sculptures that to borrow for, your apartment or your home for a while. What kind of loan period do things usually have?
Sure. So it really, really depends. I would say some of the shorter term items, we could look at a 1-week loan period, but some of the longer ones like a ukulele or something that could need a little bit more time to learn or use would be more on the 3-week side of things. So I think we're going to see a fluctuation between the items. As much as I would like to say everything is 3 weeks, just like a book, we might want a little bit of higher turnover with some items. If we were to get something like a post hole digger or a toolbox, is that something that somebody would need past a week, or are they just going to need it for a week?
Right. Or a heart-shaped baking pan.
Heart-shaped baking pan, that's right. I think another great example would be a Cricut machine. I don't personally have one, but for vinyl cutting, something like that, I think that possibility is definitely on the table for a machine like that.
Yeah, I was picturing a machine that makes crickets. Sorry.
Catherine, have you talked to East Providence to see like how they manage the Library of Things as far as like things coming back and having to be cleaned or reset or, whatever it may be?
Yeah, that is my next step, is to just go over there and see how things are going. But I think we want to err on the side of the least amount of cleanup possible is the way to go. So we probably would not get a trumpet over a ukulele. Ukulele would be great. We don't have to clean it. So along those lines. And the great thing is we're not the first library to do this. So we have a lot of examples to go from and a lot of libraries to look at and sort of find the best formula for us. I don't think it will be too difficult for me to set this up as far as loan terms go, policies go. And if you would like me to wait on lending items out, before you vote on a policy, that is okay. But I think the policies are just going to be very similar to how we do books. Bring it back in the condition it left in. And if it's not brought back in that condition, then we charge for the cost of the item.
Any other discussion on the line item transfer to collection? Then do I have a motion to approve a $10,000 transfer from salaries to collection?
I have a question before we do that. I thought we were discussing I didn't realize we were doing it on a subline by subline. I thought it was showing what we wanted to transfer in, either approving it in total or not. Maybe I'm mistaken.
So what, you thought we would make one motion for transferring to technology replacement and collection rather than two separate motions?
Yeah, maybe I misunderstood.
It doesn't make any difference to me. We can wait and make a single motion. Catherine, do you want to discuss the transfer for technology replacement?
Sure, absolutely. I'll go right ahead. So the good news is that OLS with ARPA funding is going to fund libraries with $6,500 for self-checkout machines. So that will fund one machine for us, but we have three, and I would like to replace all at the same time. And I think that it would be very beneficial to do this at this time. We're starting to run into some trouble with having we had one offline for a couple of days last week, and it's sort of the beginning of the end for these machines, if you will. They were purchased back in 2014 for about the same cost. So we're really not seeing much of a cost increase for these machines. They are very expensive. It is a screen, it is a scanner, it is all in one, and it's in an encasement. So it's not something that we can just piece together. So we're ready to replace these, and there's three of them. So I did want to mention before you all voted on this, each year we have an annual software fee for these machines. Currently it is $637.50 for all three. The cost would go up to $1,620 per year, so about $1,000 increase there. I definitely think we can absorb this into the budget, and the cost of maintaining items that are aging like this is going to be far more expensive than $1,000 cost per year. Also, with the timing of OLS having these funds available, it is a now or never situation to accept those funds. And I really think this is beneficial to us. The good outweighs any sort of reoccurring costs in the future. So my request is that we transfer $13,000 from salaries to technology replacement, and this would cover the two machines that the OLS funding will not cover.
Any discussion, Kathy?
Yes, I use those machines quite a bit, but I'm usually at the library at off hours. Are they often all three used at the same time? Do we need three?
Yes, I will say we definitely need three. We have the two by the info desk, and then we have one in the children's library. Particularly in the children's library, they usually have a higher volume checkout per transaction. So we see families taking out 20 or 30 picture books at the same time. So if we have that going on in the children's library, then we want to make sure that we have other options available. I also think too, the good thing about having the three is that there's the two by the info desk, which are sort of like the stand-up units. The one in the children's room is a lower unit, so children can go up to it and check items out themselves, but we also use that as an ADA accessible unit. So if somebody would like to check out items, they can certainly go in there and have that accessibility at that unit.
Catherine, have any other options been explored for that? Like, just looking on some other websites and seeing what other libraries are doing, and now there's contactless mobile checkout, other things like that. Is that something that Tiverton has ever considered in the past few years?
So we've thought about a technology called RFID with statewide. So I don't think this would actually work for us right now, because I really think it would need to be a statewide buy-in to have RFID. But pretty much there's a sticker with a chip in it, and you put your stack of 5 books on the reader, and you scan your card, and it automatically knows which books are on the mat and checks them out to you. So in a perfect world, every single library would be all for that, but that's just not the case with all Rhode Island public libraries, because we've discussed this in depth. And right now, these units are coming from Envisionware, which are our current vendor. And I think it is one of the more reasonable options. There are some options in here that are upwards of $15,000 to $20,000. So we're not going to go that route. And you could add credit card scanners. You could add the RFID option if your library had RFID. I really think this is the most cost effective for us.
Any further discussion? All right, so Catherine is asking for a motion to approve a transfer of $23,000 out of salaries. $13,000 would be moved to technology replacement, and $10,000 would be moved to collection. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
A second.
All in favor of the transfer?
Aye.
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 Yep, it's unanimous. Thank you very
All right.
much. We're ready for director's report, Catherine.
All right, so I will go through this from December. That was supposed to be presented in January. So you'll notice that from December, visitor statistics look a bit low, but I'd just like to remind everybody that the library was closed for more days, just the way the calendar fell. We closed on a Friday afternoon for the eves, and then we did not reopen until Tuesday because the Monday was the observed holiday. So a couple days closed, more so in December. December is usually one of our slower months where we take a break from programs and staff provide more take-home options. We also have 5 book clubs that are going strong, which we really love to have. 3 take place here at Tiverton Library, and 2 are offsite. One is at Baja's Cat Cafe on Main Road, and the other is at the Senior Center. So I consistently receive great feedback from our book club goers, and it seems to be such a well-loved program. So I'm happy to hear that. And that's what I have for December. And I'll move right into January if that's okay. All right, so in January, take-home crafts continue to be very popular for children, and circulation statistics and e-zone activity remains fairly stable from last year around this time, and also in December. We noticed some increase in website traffic, and that actually comes from information that we post about AARP tax aid preparation. And also when we have vaccine clinics, posting that information on our website drives a bit more traffic up there. And we also will definitely in the coming months see a good number of folks coming through our doors for AARP tax assistance. That started the first week of February. Any questions on my statistics? Okay, I can jump right into the COVID update. So this was for more for December, so I will not go too in depth here, but we are looking at not having masks required for everyone at this time as of Friday. That was lifted by the governor. So I am changing signage soon, and it will say masks recommended on our doors. And we will still have the mask requirement in the children's library and the teen library, because Tiverton Public Schools still has the mask requirement until at least March 4th. And I'm listening to what the school committee decides if masks will be mandatory going forward after that date. So that's where we are. The great news is that we hosted a vaccine clinic on Saturday, January 8th, where there were 105 doses administered. So very happy to see that some folks chose us as their vaccination clinic site. We just hosted a second clinic. It was supposed to be the Blizzard weekend, but it was rescheduled for this past weekend. And I don't have numbers from that yet, but it was a pretty busy day. So we are hoping maybe to do another clinic later in the spring, but to be determined. All right, so that sums up my COVID operations update for December/January. I can move on to staffing update if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay, so I am thrilled to announce that Kristen Amaral has accepted the position of technology coordinator. You may have met Kristen because this is a little bit of a dated update, as I was supposed to give it back in January. She comes to us from Bristol's Rogers Free Library, where she was their technology coordinator there. I am just so excited to have her in this position. She's completed her training with the previous technology librarian, and they've been able to coordinate knowledge and making sure that everybody's up to date. And I see it as a very smooth transition. So we're in a great spot there. And I am hoping to advertise for the part-time library assistant position that was left vacant after a staff member's retirement, and the young adult services librarian position, as you all know, has been open until filled for some time now. So I'm hoping that we have some good candidates come through.
Okay, well, it's nice to hear that we've at least filled our tech position
Yes.
and that you're very excited and pleased with our new hire.
Mhm.
It's great. Any other discussion? Otherwise, we will move on to new business. Our first item is discussion possible vote on disbursement of donated funds restricted for use in the children's library.
Great. I can take this one away. So in November of 2021, the foundation received a very generous donation in the amount of $5,000, and it was designated for the children's library. So putting our heads together, the head of children's services and I have come up with what we believe is a great idea for the use of these funds. So right now, as you all know, when the library was built, obviously we had new furniture come in. The desk system is not as ideal as we had hoped it would be for the children's library. So after the discussion with the head of children's services, I think these funds could be well utilized on a new main desk for our children's area. And what I mean by this is the shape of the desk is not conducive to having kids come sit up at the desk, do a one-on-one activity. Also, we have a lot of children who run behind the desk. This was prior to COVID. We have a lot of children who run behind the desk and back into the office. So we want to make sure that any supplies that we have in there that could not be kid-friendly, like scissors or a laminating machine, would not be easily accessible to children. So the new desk shape would close off that back office area a bit more, leave some room for children to sit and just have an overall more inviting sort of feel to that area. The current desk would be able to go into the activity room, which we have an area with a sink and cabinets and a storage closet that is not able to be blocked off. So what we would do is move the current main children's library desk to the activity room to block off that area. And that would really help when we start story times back up to keep everyone where they should be. So, so that is a general idea. I never like to say we don't need a piece of furniture in this sense, especially when it's newer. So I think being able to repurpose something for a great cause is really, really good. And that is my general idea. I'm open to any thoughts or suggestions.
Have you looked at some options?
Yes. A lot of them are more custom. So I think that this $5,000 will be very well utilized. So we'll have to make sure that we are staying within budget there.
Great. How many children are you looking to be able to seat?
Yeah, so I think if we had a counter, at least 2, it would be really nice to be able to have them there and have that more close personal one-on-one interaction with them. And also our plexiglass that we had made for that room doesn't currently fit on the old desk. So making sure that that plexiglass can fit on a larger desk is really great as well.
Did you make sure that a child size wheelchair would be able to fit too?
Definitely.
Great.
Any other questions or discussion on using the donated funds for a new children's desk service area? All right, then I will ask for a motion to approve using the $5,000 in restricted funds for the children's room for the purchase of a new librarian circulation station. It really is, right? Catherine, would you call it a circulation desk?
Yes.
I will make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, it's unanimous.
Thank you, everyone. I'm excited, and I will say it could take us a little while to get something here, just with shipping delays and et cetera. So
Yeah, library furniture is also impacted. I've placed an order myself recently and have been warned due to supply chain issues, expect several months wait.
So I will keep you all updated. We'll leave it there. Thank you.
All right, our next item, discussion possible vote on library director's professional membership fees. And I put that on after I learned that Catherine's professional membership fees in the American Library Association, those are not currently covered by us. It is very common for these professional fees to be covered by an employer in both public and academic and even some school libraries. And so I think it's perfectly appropriate, especially given Catherine's excellent fiscal management skills that ensure that we have the money to cover those membership fees. So I guess for this year, we would take a vote on it, but perhaps the personnel subcommittee might have a discussion on whether that should be part of the compensation package offered our director going forward. Any questions or discussion?
Just one.
Chris?
I'm fine with that. Believe me, for the library director. But is it also something that other library staff, do they have fees that also should be covered? I know we're doing just you right now, but I agree with what you said, Carol, because we keep on looking for options to increase incentives to keep people. So are there other library staff that have library professional fees, or is that not an issue?
Yes, usually our professional library staff are members of RILA. Also, our new technology coordinator is as well. So I believe if there are funds in those line, then I have the authority to say that we can pay those for them. But if you all think otherwise, please let me know.
No. I think it's fine. I just, I liked what Carol said. It was like, if we put it, because I know the personnel subcommittee is going to meet. So if we put it in, however it goes, you could do it as a limit, not for you, but for other, that might be an incentive to keep people here. So that was all. I'm good with this.
Any other discussion? All right, then do I have a motion to approve our payment of the library director's professional membership fees? And we're talking about FY22, Catherine?
Correct. Yeah.
For the current fiscal year.
So moved.
Thank you. And Kathy, and a second?
I'll second.
Excellent.
We're also polite.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, and our final item this evening is a long-range plan update from our director.
All right, so this was actually due to be given in December, but I think we had a fairly full agenda that month. So it was put off till January, and here we are in February. So I've divided, as always, I've divided this up into a couple different areas here, so I can go over each of those. So the first would be library access and services. So patrons are still visiting the library, browsing, studying, and meetings. Meeting rooms have been consistently busy, and we've seen a drop off in virtual. We've seen a drop since virtual meetings are allowed again. So a lot of the town meetings had to go back to virtual meetings, so that impacts us and them using our rooms here. Also, I'd just like to mention that rooms are available to any town boards and commissions as long as there isn't already a library program happening. So come on over. We love having town boards and commissions here. So that is library access and services. We're still seeing a lot of folks coming through who work from home, using us as sort of their secondary working space, which is great. In terms of communications, we haven't really had any changes since my last update in September. I still believe we may want to discuss branding and beginning to look for a new website designer, probably towards the end of this year and into 2023. In terms of programs, we had some programs were somewhat limited because of the current COVID situation over the past couple of months, and also limited staffing. Library staff are really excited for it to be nice outside again and not terrible like it is tonight. I think there's just been this renewed interest in just being outside and really having programs happen outside. As you all know, we're really looking forward to some sort of outdoor project with the outdoor classroom and shade structure that we're hoping can happen over the next couple of years. So really just waiting for the weather to change. And hopefully this will also bring a break with COVID conditions. It seems like things are letting up a bit, and we may be able to bring some children's programs back that have been on hiatus for quite some time. So that's in terms of programs. With our collection, circulation statistics have been fairly consistent with pre-pandemic statistics, which is great. So I think that adding the funds for the collection in certain areas from the Foundation's Give a Book program, also creating this library of things that is hopefully gonna just show everyone that we're not just books, DVDs, and audiobooks. We are so much more than that, and we have something for everyone here. The other option is, the other mention I'd just like to make is that monthly purchasing is still happening for the teen library. Despite us not having a young adult services librarian, we have had some titles that we just knew were being published. So we are thankful to our previous young adult services librarian that she had those ready in a cart for us. Also, the head of children's services is making sure that any newer titles that have come up that were not already in those carts ready to be purchased are on there as well. Going on to staffing, as you know, the Young Adult Services Librarian position has been open until filled, and the technology coordinator position has been filled. Thank goodness. That is a position that we really require in this library. So I'm just so thrilled that Kristen is with us now. We also are looking at personnel subcommittee. I have not forgotten about you. We are due to meet with the next couple of weeks, most likely, to discuss some of the retention strategies that we brought up back at the December meeting with the full board and also with the personnel subcommittee. So I will reach out to you all to schedule a meeting. I have all of the items that we should be discussing, and I'll get moving on that once we've presented the budget to the budget committee and town council. In terms of funding, great news that we received $15,000 in capital this year. And I'm very happy that you all gave me permission tonight to start to really dig in on those items and make some tracks in terms of getting some solid numbers about what those needs are. The budget that will go to the budget committee and the town council has been solidified. So checking one more thing off the list there in terms of our long range plan, just having a reasonable and conservative budget is always at the top of our list each year. Those two items are really important to us in making sure that we're using all of our funds incredibly well. And last but not least, building. This, in terms of maintenance, we are in great shape. There's nothing outstanding that is an emergency. It's a good way to be. That has seemed like it's been a long time coming, but here we are. We're finally there. RT,
Is that a tear in the corner?
very small one. Along with my little violin, I'm sure you all feel that by now. So RT, as you know, RT Corp repaired the storm damaged siding that we had back in the fall. But other than that, it's really cosmetic items that we're taking care of at this point. A broken faucet here, a non-working toilet there. You know what? I'll take it. It's part of the job. I'm happy to keep up with all of those things. And I hope that the board, I know you all are interested, but I hope that the board is just as interested in the outdoor space project as we all are. I did get some good news from the Van Buren Charitable Family Foundation that they said our application for the capital readiness assessment looked great. So we have a meeting set up with Mass Design the first week of March. So they're really going to kick us off with that capital readiness assessment, which you all voted on. And so things are rolling in a good direction, and I'll of course keep you updated. That is a project I know I've said before, I'm incredibly excited for. This is the thing that gets library directors really excited. I mean, broken faucets are one thing, but like this project, this is what I'm excited for. So I am really looking forward to that. And then I think it would probably be great now that virtual meetings are on their way out as far as Open Meetings Act goes. I think it would be really great if we could have a property subcommittee here to do a walkthrough once the weather breaks a little bit. So that is on my to-do list. Property subcommittee, I haven't forgotten about you either. And that's where we stand with our long range plan quarterly update. I can answer any questions, and I actually think to update you all next month. So
any questions or discussion about the long range plan update?
Doing a great job. That's all.
thank you, Chris. I appreciate that.
I think I'm not in the minority. I think it's a majority feel.
Thank you.
Yep, I'm very pleased we're continuing to make progress on that long-range plan despite the global pandemic and the challenges arising from it. We are still moving forward in improving services for our patrons. All right, this is your last chance to ask a question this evening. Otherwise, I will now ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll do that motion.
Thank you, Chris. A second? Anybody?
Second.
And all in favor, say aye.
All in favor, say
Right.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Have a
Thank
To all of you.